Hi everybody, welcome to another episode of Joey's Scarf. Today is Monday, September 19th, 2019, and this is episode 37. My name is Linda, and you can find me all over as Lyndagrace, and that's Linda with a Y. This is episode 37, I think I said that, and this is a knitting and crochet podcast and yarn. That's what I mainly talk about. Thank you for joining me. I missed you guys. It's been more than a month, and I'm getting a little antsy because I haven't been able to talk knitting with anyone. I have maybe 2 finished objects. I have 2 things that I was working on last time that I'm still working on. They're big projects, and I'll just show you the progress I've made on those. It's been a little hectic around here. Ross is going through some health issues, which we're trying to figure out. So it's been a lot of visiting with doctor's offices and trying to make appointments, and I don't know about the area that you live in, but here in my area, which is in Barnegat, New Jersey, and that's along the Jersey Shore, it seems as though the demand for doctors is greater than the supply. So we tried to get an appointment for Ross with this one specialist, and we're having to wait nearly 2 months for it. It's crazy, crazy, crazy. So it's been quite challenging, and talking knitting is a break that I kind of need today. So I hope you'll enjoy what I'm about to show you. And later on, I'm going to talk about the New Jersey Sheep and Wool Festival, which was this weekend. It was Saturday and Sunday, and we went yesterday, Sunday. And I have some little videos, and we didn't spend. First of all, it's a small festival, small. There's enough vendors. There were plenty of booths and different things to see. I stopped at a few, but it was kind of warm yesterday, and Ross was getting a little tired, so we didn't really couldn't spend that much time, but I saw enough. I saw enough sheep and yarn and to satisfy me. I just needed to be around some yarn and some knitters, and I was quite happy with the trip. So I'll show you some stuff that I got from there later, and I'll show you some pictures and videos later on. So we're going to get going with the knitting, and I'll show you my first finished object. Okay, so my first finished object is a doily. Can you believe it? I made a doily. I know people probably don't do this very often, although since I decided to do this, I joined the hashtag crochet doilies on Instagram, and some beautiful items come up. So I'm not so far away from what people are doing. There are still a lot of people who are doing these. This is called the pineapple motif, I guess. The reason that I decided to do this was I was cleaning out my closet, my yarn and craft closet, which also doubles as my clothes closet. And I found a ball of cotton yarn, crochet cotton, and I've been stuffing that ball of yarn in this corner and that corner, and I decided, let me see what I can do with it. And I found a vintage pattern book that had this pattern in it, and I started on it, and it was quite all encompassing. It just occupied all of my attention and concentration, and that's what I liked about it. It's like knitting lace. You really have to pay attention, and each round is different, and that's what I like. It's a piece of art, really, and that's what's being created here. I was quite pleased that I was able to follow along and follow the instructions, and that it came out to be this. I think I'm going to do more of these, but I want to make a bigger one to fit on a round glass table that I have. So I'm looking for another pattern to do that with. So that's my first finished object. My second finished object, I was working on this on the last episode, and this is my Sockhead hat. And I was quite concerned that it was going to be too small. And in fact, I almost took it out, but I had a lot of people on Instagram telling me, no, don't take it out. It'll stretch. It'll be fine. And they were right. And it turned out good. Fits perfectly. And I really like it. So soft and comfortable. It came out really nice. It took me a while. This is sock yarn, so you know it takes a while to knit on it, but it was nice, calming knitting, mindless knitting, and I just would pick it up every once in a while, sometimes in a waiting room, or you know, just something to work on, watching TV, so I can watch TV and not have to worry about patterns, stitches, or whatever. And I like the way it came out. The yarn is this Alegria from Manos de Uruguay, and it's 75% merino, 25% polyamide. The color is Cabaret. Is that focusing? I don't know. So I like the pink and the gray and the white. I thought it was cool looking. One of the things I forgot to mention was that I was participating in the Granny Square Day. So for 15 days I made a Granny Square a day, and this is what I accomplished. I enjoyed doing them, and not sure what I'm going to do with all these different Granny Squares. I thought you'd like to see them. So I started a pair of socks because I had this much left over, quite a bit left over from the hat. I'm going to do the cuffs, heels, and toes in this gray, and it's I don't know if you can see it, but it's a sparkly gray. Well, it's just going to be a plain pair of socks, my usual pattern, but I just like the color combination of the gray with these colors. So I have the first one started, and it's one of my works in progress. And this is, whoops, this is I don't know what this is. It was in my stash. I don't know who dyed it or where I got it from, but there's quite a bit of this left over from something else that I made. But I think it's going to really look cool with this. Well, that's my first work in progress. Another work in progress that I was working on last episode has grown tremendously, and that's this blanket I'm making. And it's knit, and I'm using up all of my acrylic yarns, And like I said, it's gotten very, very big. And the pattern is a pattern that I found in one of the stitch dictionaries. And if you can see, it's a triangle, garter triangle pattern. And I just love the way this is coming out. And I'm gonna be working on this for quite a while. And I might put a picture in so you can see how big it is, like how big it has gotten. And one of the things, as I was knitting this, I'm knitting it, and I'm looking around my room, and I see an Afghan here, an Afghan there. All the chairs and sofas have Afghans on them. And I thought, wouldn't it be nice to display them instead of just, you know, throwing them on the back of a chair or a sofa? So Ross and I went on a little seeking adventure, I guess, hunting, looking for blanket racks. And we went to our secondhand shop, and I immediately found one, which holds 3 Afghans, and I have a lot more than 3. So I placed those on that rack, which I'll put some pictures in and show you. But I needed another one because I had at least 3 more Afghans to display. So it took us a while to find the second one, but we found it in a Goodwill store, and I think I paid $5-10 bucks for each of the blanket racks. I enjoy seeing them that way because I consider them artistic, and I like the way they're displayed. So this one that I'm working on, I don't know. This one I'm not sure what I'm going to do with this one. I really, really love it, and maybe somebody special will get it. I don't know. We'll see. And that's my second work in progress. This is the pattern for the blanket, and they're calling it garter stitch triangles. And I think it was in a Reader's Digest. Let's see. It was from the Ultimate Source Book of Knitting and Crochet Stitches. It's an old book that I had laying around. So that's the pattern for that. One of the things I was working on, I don't know if I talked about this last episode, but it is a shawl from Helen Stewart, Curious Handmade, the Shawl Society, which is a little project that she puts out once a year. I think this is like the 3rd or 4th time she's doing it. And she releases patterns. I think there are like 4 patterns, so once every 2 months she releases a pattern. And this one is called the Sea Gleam Shawl. I started working on that, and this is as far as I've gotten with this. And I'm pretty sure that I'm going to be frogging this. I might have mentioned that last time. But the yarn is from Shirsty Cat, Kelly Straub. And I really am not enjoying doing this. I have to be honest. I'm just not liking it. I don't like the way it looks. I'm probably not going to wear it, and I probably said the same thing last time. But it's definitely going to get frogged. I can find another use for this yarn, and it has nothing to do with Helen Stewart's patterns. I love the way she writes her patterns. They're easy to follow. I'm not crazy about the design of this one. So maybe I'm going to choose probably another scarf, shawl to use this yarn with, because it's really, really pretty, but not with this pattern. So I might spend tonight frogging it, because that's pretty therapeutic also, you know. So I decided, as I'm sitting here, instead of talking about it, I'm going to frog this shawl. And I'm really happy that I'm doing it. Kind of like to frog things. It takes the pressure off of having this work in progress and knowing it's there and staring at me every time I look in my basket of works in progress. So now I just have to figure out, what would this yarn like to be? And this is almost as meditative as knitting sometimes, you know. When I knit, I don't really feel much pressure to get things done in a certain time or whatever. I do get excited when I'm getting near the end of a project, because I get anxious because I want to see what it's going to look like in the end. But I don't really feel, I don't feel pressure with knitting much. Sometimes I get a little anxious if I can't figure a pattern out or a stitch, and but I'm very stubborn, and I won't give up until I figure it out. But in this case, it wasn't the fact that I couldn't figure out the stitches or the pattern. I just maybe if this was a different yarn, maybe a solid yarn would have, I'm looking out my window, somebody walking by, maybe a solid yarn would have shown the pattern off better, because there is lace here, but because of the yarn is kind of busy, it doesn't show the lace very well. Since we've been going through these challenges the past couple of months, I have to say that it's amazing how people will reach out to us, have reached out to us. And I have to say, especially my sisters have been very, very supportive, and one day I was really distraught, and I wanted to talk to someone. I wanted to reach out to someone, but I'm the type of person who I think about other people and I say to myself, why should I bother them with my problems when they've got their problems, and their problems are twice as bad as what our problems are right now. That's just the way I think. And one day I was really, as I said, very distraught and wanting to speak to somebody. I thought about calling my sister, Johanna, who lives in Virginia. And I thought, no, my sister's been going through some rough stuff, health issues herself with her daughter and her husband, and I thought, there's no way I'm calling her. And I kept thinking about her, and it was the weirdest thing. I got a text from her as I was sitting there debating whether or not to call her. And the text said, what is going on? What's happening there? And it was just so, it was like she and I were just reaching out to each other. And I called her, and it was the best thing I could have done. And I'm just very grateful for her support. And my other sister, Elaine, the same thing. Not so much, it wasn't the telepathy thing with her, but I know that if I call her, she will drop everything and come. And last weekend, in fact, I reached out to her, and she said, we're coming right over She lives about an hour away, and she brought us a whole pasta dinner. Meatballs, the sauce, the pasta, cheese and crackers, a salad, bread, everything. And it just is, it's wonderful. It really is wonderful. And I have a wonderful sister-in-law who lives very, very far away from us, and again having her own health issues. And she has spent many hours on the phone with me too, helping me, and that's Joan, and I appreciate her so much too. So I feel very lucky to have these people in my life, and I don't feel so alone. And that's how I feel when I'm talking to you. I feel that way too. I know there are people out there who have become my friends, and I might not speak to them on the phone, but I speak to you here, and I know you're out there, and it means so much to me. It really does. It's gotten me through some hard times, this yarn, this knitting, these friends, and my family. So thank you for being there. Thank you for listening. And I'm almost at the end. And this was very, very therapeutic, let me tell you. I love it. And I don't feel like I am destroying all that work that I put in or anything like that. No, this is a new beginning. This isn't the end of a project. I look at it as if it's the beginning of a new project. And that's the way I like to look at things. Not always, believe me. I'm more of a glass is half full than a glass is half empty than full person. But I'm learning that trying to be positive is a better space to be. So my final work in progress is the Foxtrot cardigan, which was a knit along that I think you're supposed to do it in 4 days or something like that. I'll put the information in the show notes about whose pattern. It's actually Marie Greene Olive Knits, and the pattern is cool. I like it. I am working on it every now and again, and this is as far as I've gotten so far. This is the sleeves, the front, This is the design on the back. It's hard to tell. It's not blocked, or obviously not blocked or anything. I don't know. It feels like it's going to be small, but when I was reading, I did get gauge, which I really very rarely even try and do gauge swatch, but it seemed like it was fitting okay, and hopefully it'll fit. This is a long-term project too, because it just seems like a lot of knitting. Sweaters are a lot of knitting. This yarn is very nice though, and this yarn is Scout. I guess that's the it's not the brand. It's who's the maker of this? Okay, Kelborn Woolens is the maker of this yarn, and I guess Scout is the model number. I don't know what you call this, but it's 100% wool. It feels really nice. Not merino, it just says wool. But but I like it. I love the color, and it doesn't feel like it's going to be scratchy. And yeah, I'm moving along on it. I just have one more pattern repeat to go on the body, and then I should be able to start the ribbing on the bottom. Maybe next time I'll be wearing it. Hopefully the weather will be cool enough, because I'm kind of sick and tired of this heat and this summer. I'm done. I want winter. That's why I'm wearing my scarf and my hat to try and push it along. Yeah, so we went to it's called the Garden State Sheep Breeders Sheep and Fibre Festival. And this is the 25th annual one. And it took place at the Hunterdon County Fairgrounds in Ringoes, New Jersey. It took us about an hour and a half to get there, which isn't bad at all. As I said, it's a small venue. They have about, I think they have 4 barns, and one of them was just animals, was just sheep, people showing their sheep. And then there were 3 barns that had a mixture of sheep and yarn. And then along the outside, they had some stalls along the outside too. So there were, I don't know exactly how many vendors there were, but it was a nice variety, and I could have spent some time there. But like I said, it was hot, and we were getting a little dehydrated, I think, so we kind of cut it short. But I did stop at a few of my favorite booths, and the first one I stopped at was Chelsea Yarns. She is, her shop is in Red Bank, New Jersey. And she has a podcast also with Miriam, and their podcast is called the Chelsea Purls, P-U-R-L-S, of course. And she does a nice job of dyeing yarn. So let me show you what I got from her. Well, first she threw in this little notions bag, which I thought was nice. Chelsea is into the rose gold, as you can see, so I thought that was very generous of her to do that. And she is I'm gonna crinkle here for a minute. She has a new base that she has been dyeing on, and it is called Cobblestone. That's the base, and that was the word I was trying to think of before, a base. This is her Cobblestone base, and you can see it has the little little nubbies on it. And I thought this color was so pretty. It is 90% merino and 10% nylon. It's 438 yards. And this color is Dreams. I just thought it was gorgeous. So she had a sample of a hat that she was making, and so she also dyed some mohair to go with it. So that's what I'm going to be doing, is making a hat. She has a pattern for it free on her website, Chelsea Yarns, I think. So I'll put the information below if I remember. But I can't even tell you how soft this feels and how nice it's going to feel as a hat and look cool as a hat. So that was my first stop, and I was quite pleased because I had seen I was watching her podcast, their podcast, and she was showing this base, and I knew I wanted to try it out. So that was Chelsea Lux. That was one of the stops we made. And then I was reading the brochures, and I just one of the booths on the around the outside of the festival, I saw the name of the dyers were the Golden Purls, and it's a mother-daughter team. And I think they're just beginning to do this, and I thought I'm gonna give them a shot, give them a chance too. So I specifically went to look for them, and I thought this green was really beautiful. I was thinking maybe I would make some DK weight socks with this for Christmas socks, or a hat, another hat. But I have so many hats. But I fell in love with the color, and this is the color is called Shady Pines Ma. And the yarn base is DK Tweed. It's 85% superwash merino, 15% nep nylon. The color is great. That was one of the skeins I bought. And then she also had a combo for socks, you know, for the cuffs, heels, and toes with this color. And she had a sample knit up in the socks, and it was really nice. I love the way it came out. So that's why I got this one. And again, it's the Golden Purls, and their website is the Golden Purls, and they're on Etsy, and I'll put their information in the show notes. This color is called the Rusty Anchor Sock Set, and it's 75% superwash merino, 25% nylon. That's all the yarn I bought, because I am determined to reduce my stash. I'm not ever going to get rid of it because there's just too much of it, but I am working my way through it. One of the things I have started to realize is how much yarn can we have. Sometimes I feel as though the yarn dyers they start to look alike. You go in one booth and you can't tell who dyed the yarn sometimes. The colors are just so similar. And I just decided that hopefully I'm going to be buying yarn differently, having a project in mind instead of just, oh, I like this color, I want that one, and I want that one, and just buying one skein of this and that because it catches my eye. So I think I'm getting a little, I think the honeymoon is over with the yarn dyeing and the yarn dyers, and I'm hoping that if you're a yarn dyer and you're watching that, that's not, you don't get offended by that. But as a customer, one of the things I think is very helpful is when you go into a booth and the dyer has a garment knit up in the yarn that they're trying to show you, I find I'm more apt to buy the yarn rather than seeing it in a skein and not knowing how it's going to look once it's knit up. Because a lot of the times I'll be attracted to the colors, and when I knit with it, the colors don't come out in the garment as I have them pictured in my mind when I'm looking at the skein, if that makes any sense. So it's really helpful. I think that the yarn dyers should do little swatches and just show you how it's going to look once it's knit up. That's why I bought the yarn from the Golden Purls, the sock set, because she had the socks there, and I said, oh, I love the way the socks are coming out. Chelsea too. Christina from Chelsea Yarns, same thing. She had a hat started and she had one completed, so you could see what the hat was going to look like in the yarn that she dyed, and it's really helpful. I'm surprised more yarn dyers don't do that, even if they do a 4-inch swatch so that you can see how it's going to come out. I think it would really be helpful. And I stopped at another booth called Katrinkles, and they make wooden stitch markers and little things. Like I've been wanting to get one of these, because every time I have to do one of these stitches, which is make one right or make one left, I can never remember which is which. So I've been wanting one of these. It'll be really handy to have this, so I don't have to look it up each time. So that was one of the things that I got, and it's wood, and I don't know. I guess, is it burnt in or burnt in? I guess. I have my audience sitting here giving me hints about stuff. The other thing, I thought this was really neat. Now, whether I'm going to be able to figure this out, I don't know, but it was a trio. She's got a little rabbit, and I guess it's a llama, maybe. Oops. A llama and a sheep. And they're to make tassels with. And she gives you the instructions. So you wrap around here, you tie here, and you cut here. So I thought that was really cool, very neat. So I'm going to try tassels. And then she has the stitch markers. I like these too. I'm always looking for stitch markers. I have hundreds of them, but when I want to go find them, I can never find them. Yeah, so this is Katrinkles, and I'll put the information in the show notes below. And maybe at the end of this, I'll show you a little video of our trip to the Sheep and Wool Festival. I'm glad we went. I think that is one festival that I will always try and get to, especially since it's so close. And I know some of the dyers, so it's always nice to stop in and say hello. I saw the Crafty Toads were there, and my local yarn shop, Wool Bearers, Myra, was there. And it's so interesting, the different personalities of people and the way people respond. And one of the yarn dyers is very perky, and you get a big hello and a big hug, and it makes you feel very welcome. And then I walked into another booth of someone that I know, and she said to me, you don't need any more yarn. What are you doing here? So it's just funny the way her demeanor is versus another yarn dyer. One trying very hard to show you her stuff and being very excited about it, and then there's the other person who is just very low key. And but I like both people and enjoy both of their personalities. So that's it, I think. This is a quickie, but I just did want to stop in and say hello and tell you that I'm still knitting, and I will probably knit always. I haven't lost my interest, and it keeps me sane So that's it. I don't know if Ross wants to say hello or not. Do you, Ross?
Sure.
Okay. So Ross says yes, he does, but we're gonna have to make a different arrangement because there's not enough room for him to sit here with me. So give us a minute. Okay, so here we are.
Hi, everybody.
So did you enjoy the Sheep and Wool Festival?
Yes, I haven't missed one in 6 years.
However long we've been going.
About that long. It's always fun for a couple of laughs and meeting old friends and seeing different people and trying carnival food.
We didn't try any this year.
No. Usually there's something having to do with lambs. Well, I did enjoy myself at the Sheep and
But not for too long.
It has its time.
Yeah.
I do like it when the weather is a little cooler and not wet and humid.
Yeah, it was very, very humid.
It was kind of rough. I mean, it was bad enough to knock me out.
Yep.
But the festival itself is always a fun thing to do. Seeing the crafty toads who live not too far from us.
No, they live on the island.
That's right. Crafty toads, the what's the crew from Red Bank?
That's the Chelsea Yarns.
Chelsea Yarns. Other than, I want to thank you for giving me this opportunity to speak with everyone here in Ringo's, New Jersey, the home of the last rodeo.
That's where we were yesterday, yes.
That's right.
Is that true?
They still have a rodeo in, I think it's in the town of, is it the town of Ringo's? Or
I wonder if they have the rodeo in those fairgrounds.
I believe they do.
Yeah.
Something to look into for next year.
Okay. So that's probably about it, right? I don't know if you can see outside, but the air is very heavy today. It started out as sunny, but it looks like it's clouding over, and the humidity, as I'm sitting here with a scarf around my neck, is just unbearable. As I said before, I can't wait for sweater weather.
Well, start knitting.
I am knitting. So I think that's it. Anything else?
That's it. Actually, there is. I mean, you could do a history thing on knitting.
True.
Being part of the tea trade of the 17th century and the commerce back and forth from England to England.
From England to England?
From sea to shining sea.
It's from sea to shining sea.
My history's a little off the wall today.
Okay.
But there are lots of things having to do with crocheting that you haven't even begun to start appreciating.
Well, I think maybe next time that'll be your assignment to come up with knitting bits.
Knitting bits.
We'll have a little segment called Knitting Bits.
Knitting tidbits.
Knitting tidbits. That's right.
Okay, well, I see. Oh, there's no audience in here.
Huh?
There's no audience in here.
The audience is right there.
Okay.
All right. This was a short one for sure.
Oh.
And that's it.
That's it.
Okay. So we will see you when we see you.
Next time.
So that's it for today. And I hope to see you next time. So thank you so much for joining me. And if you want to, hit the subscribe button and the like button so that I know that you're out there. I know you're there. So see you later. Bye-bye.